Dave Bossie, he was the deputy campaign manager for the Donald Trump for President campaign in the fall that won the stunning upset over Hillary Clinton. He is co-author of two great books, Let Trump Beat Trump with Corey Lewandowski and Trump's Enemies Buy Them. Easiest way to order them, just go to my website, johnfredericksradio.com. There's an ad from right there. You click on it, you buy it, you're good. All done. Also, they do a podcast every Thursday called Deep in the Swamp. You can get their podcast on Google Play, iTunes. Just Google it. Deep in the Swamp comes out every Thursday. Must listen. Hey, there's a lot of podcasts out there competing for your time. This is the best because it's just Corey and Dave hanging out, having a conversation. They interview some of the best people. But even when they don't, they're giving you insights you're not going to have. I had the opportunity to see Dave yesterday at the White House in a private briefing with his top surrogates in the nation. About 20 of us there. Corey Lewandowski, who I had on earlier, was there. Sean Spicer earlier. And now Dave Bossie with us. Dave, great to have you here back on the John Fredericks Radio Network. Great to see you, Dave, yesterday.
Yeah, it was a great day yesterday, John. I think the president's really excited about, giving this speech tonight. He is as through my experience knowing him, 9-10 years, he is the greatest game time player I've ever been around. And it is, people think that the pressure, is he going to be able to, live up to the hype? And I got to tell you, I think I'm very excited about his speech tonight, about him using the State of the Union to talk about the important issues, talk about his great list of accomplishments, as well as talk about, where his vision is for America's future.
It always amazes me seeing him last night come into that room with us, Dave, and the amount of pressure he's under, obviously, with all the stuff going on. You got leakers and liars in there he's got to deal with in his own house, and just his upbeat attitude. And he was really excited yesterday about giving his speech tonight and outlining some of the themes in it, and very proud of some of the accomplishments he's made.
John, I got to tell you, I've been around this guy a lot, and it is, I go back to some of those really tough times during the campaign leading up to each of the three debates with Hillary Clinton, right? All of the pressure that was on him, and nothing phases him. That's the thing. The mainstream media think that they can create some narrative, whether it's some bad guy, literally a Trump enemy, working inside the White House, leaking his schedules yesterday at a nefarious time, or any other of these ridiculous storylines. He just doesn't let it get to him. He doesn't pay attention to it. He is somebody who, is always getting up every day, working hard for the American people. And that's what he focuses on. He focuses on what he can do, not what he can't control.
Dave Bossie, the leaker that sent the president's schedule out, I mean, you were one of the candidates that might have been chief of staff. Dave, I mean, leaking the president's schedule out for 65 days, that's got to be some violation of security, right? I mean, it's just beyond the leak where somebody said something at a meeting.
Yeah, well, to be candid with you, John, I don't know if it's a violation of any security protocol. It's certain, because if the person was leaking tomorrow's schedule and put the president, in jeopardy in the sense of his movements, that's one thing. But this was a schedule of the past, So I think, look, it's certainly a violation of the trust. Okay, and so this person should be rooted out. There should be an investigation. There should be, a group of serious people who come in there and get to the bottom of who it is. There's an opportunity to go through people's, emails and text messages, phone calls. I got to be honest with you. This is unconscionable. No president has had to put up with this, and I would root them out and I'd fire them, on national television. But that's just me.
Well, that's why we were hoping that you would be chief of staff, and that position is still not a done deal. So we're still hoping Dave Bossie will be in there. But, this is an example, Dave, and I'm just not going to doing this because you're on, but I mean, for the life of me, I think the president needs somebody in there in a very key role that is unquestionably loyal to him and that understands his style. And he's not really had that opportunity, and I think that gets to a lot of this stuff. But I do want to say that all of the fake news out there, Dave, about chaos in the White House and the staff is in upheaval and everybody hates them and they fight with each other. I mean, I've been there a number of times here in the past month, and so have you. I don't see evidence of that, Dave, at all.
No. Look, John, the White House runs very well. I'm in there, quite a bit. I saw you there yesterday. This president runs a tremendous operation. Certainly there are people who infight with each other, but not with the president. That's different. So, yes, there are people who have different opinions and different agendas. Some are the president's and some are not. But, look, I want the president to have around him, a team of people who bring their own ideas, who bring their own, concepts on policy and can bring differing views to the table. But once the president hears them all and makes a decision, that everybody is on the same team. And to be quite candid, I'm offended that 2 years into this administration, we're having this kind of conversation that he doesn't have the right people around him, and it continuously happens. Mick Mulvaney's a breath of fresh air. He's candid. He is straightforward. He is somebody who is open to everybody's ideas and concepts, and he looks at the role, in my opinion, the right way. So I am encouraging Mick, and I'm encouraging the president to continue on this kind of path of really openness. Look, and the other part of it is, in the schedules, you'll see that this president spends a lot of time in meetings. Look, I've been in with this president. I know many, many, many people that have meetings scheduled with this president, and they're all in executive time. This whole fallacy that he's not, he's sitting around doing nothing. That's when he has his meetings, okay? A lot of meetings. That's when he's meeting with a lot of policy folks. That's when he's meeting with a lot of outside advisors. That's when he's talking to business leaders and community leaders to try to get their ideas. And in this atmosphere, he's not trying to advertise that. And it's not. And I'll be honest with you. The media, it's none of their business who he's talking to.
Well, yeah, I mean, to put executive time on his schedule as if he's in the Oval Office with a putting green and a makeshift hole. I mean, you're right. Well, he's on the phone talking to people. And even this idea, Dave Bossie, and I want to get your comments on this, all over the fake newsers, the legacy media that, he's not listening to his intel chiefs. I mean, look, the purpose of the intel chiefs is he goes in there, you have a briefing, you have to make a decision. The president gets the advice of a lot of different people, including his intel chiefs. But then he makes a decision based on the information he has, and he gets a lot of opinions. So this idea that, he should sit there and do whatever the intel chiefs say, I mean, nobody elected them president. He takes it in, right, and then makes a decision with the available information he has.
Yeah, that's right. But look, let's talk about the intel for a second. This president is, and I am, a believer in the structure of our intelligence services. We have the hardest working, the best people. We have great technology. We have all sorts of avenues of human intelligence and the high-tech intelligence that we have. And it's all great. But the problem is they're not always right. Let's just be honest. These are the same
Dave.
people, not the exact same individuals, but the same people, meaning the same jobs, the same titles, that told us there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq.
Right.
Okay?
That's right.
That they're, and look, they're just not always right. I want to hear them out on everything, and this president wants to hear them out on everything. But to believe that a 17 going on 18-year-old war in Afghanistan is not able to be fought in a different way, that we have a big problem, so we need a big army solution. That is what, the establishment, I'll call them military and intelligence leaders, want the president to continue to do. Because, to be quite honest, that is the simplest thing, right? That's the easiest thing, to continue to put blood and treasure, in harm's way in a country that really is not, a place where we're ever going to be able to declare victory. Let's be honest. This is a declaration of victory in of a certain sense. There's no armistice that is going to be signed on an aircraft carrier anywhere. This is a guerrilla war that has been fought by these people for 1,000 years and 1,000 years before that, and we've been there 17 years. And I think that there's ways for us to kill everybody who needs dying, but not put our people in harm's way on a daily basis. Yes, we may have to put boots on the ground on occasion. Yes, we might have to use special operators. Yes, we may have to use aircraft consistently and constantly and use it from bases that are in safer locations. But, to say that we have to be there for another 17 years, I have a son who's going to turn 16 here next year, and this war started before he was born. And I have a 17-year-old daughter. I have two other daughters that are younger. I look at it like a parent that says, is this the right thing for us to be sending children who aren't even born yet to war in Afghanistan when they turn 18? That's what we'd be talking about. So this president takes it all very seriously. He takes it all in, but he is not for endless wars. And you look at the money. You look at the money we've spent, the trillions and trillions of dollars, and think about what that could have been done used for, for the American people. Now, don't get me wrong. We've used the money over there to keep America safe. I understand the argument, but there's ways for us to spend less money and stay just as safe. I'm a believer, and I'll say it out loud. I'm a believer in outsourcing some of this stuff. There are plenty of units out there, American and otherwise, who we could pay a lot less money to go over there and kill those that need dying. And I'm a big fan of that. I think that that's where we need to be headed. I don't want, our young men and women to be put in harm's way when there's plenty of people who, would volunteer, in a sense, to go.
Well, Dave Bossie, you're right. 17 years later, 2,300 of our troops have been killed, many, many more maimed and wounded. We spent
right.
Billions.
17 years and trillions of dollars. And I got to tell you, and $1 trillion. Look, there's a piece up on the Federalist, and I would commend everybody to read it, by Jesse Kelly. And I've known Jesse since he was a candidate for Congress in Arizona many, many years ago. He's a former Marine, and he wrote a piece that I saw because Robert O'Neill, who is one of the special operators who shot Osama bin Laden twice in the face, that Robert O'Neill commended it to everyone to read. And I think that it is something that we need to hear from the men and women who, are the boots on the ground, those people who have served in Iraq and Afghanistan for 17 years, over the last 17 years, who are saying, hey, you know what, enough's enough. Because I make the point that I have kids who weren't even born when this war started and could be expected to go to war. And there are unborn children, well, unless you're in Virginia, that are not born yet that would have to go to war. We could be talking about sending them to war in 18 years. That's exactly how this is being discussed. So I think we've had enough. We need to keep America safe first and foremost, but there's many ways to do that.
Well, Dave, also during the campaign, the president campaigned for 2 years on reevaluating our stance in these endless wars and campaigned about getting out of Syria and specifically getting out of Afghanistan. So we campaigned on it. He talked about it. This is nothing new. You know what amazes me, Dave Bossie, is whenever the president attempts to actually follow through on a campaign promise, the status quo in the swamp in D.C. is aghast by the whole thing. Like, what did they expect? Like, he would just campaign and then get in there and said, oh, I just made that up? I mean, he's tried to follow through on the things he said.
But, John, that's what politicians do. Politicians say and do anything to get elected, which is what you're going to see for the next 2 years. You're going to see all of this pack of morons on the left running for office, trying to beat this president in 2020. And I affectionately call them morons. They're not really morons. They actually believe what they say. They're socialists best. And so I am looking forward to being able to have that conversation with the American people to help this president articulate those very, very hard things, of what he's done and why he's done it versus what the left position is of making America worse, not better. Let's drag it all down. And that's what one candidate after the other is talking about today. So it's we're going to be in a place, and we're in a place where we have a president who's not a career politician. He's still an outsider compared to, and he's been president for 2 years. He's still an outsider compared to, the dregs of what is it in the Washington swamp. And I think that that's something that we need to take, very seriously, is to watch how they operate. This man made promises, and he's kept promises, and the Washington swamp is surprised by it.
Speaking of the swamp, Dave Bossie and Corey Lewandowski have the best podcast in America. You got to tune this in. It is so cool. It's called Deep in the Swamp. Corey Lewandowski and Dave Bossie, they get together on Thursdays and talk about things.
Well, John, and I appreciate that. We're actually going to do a special one this morning, which will be up this afternoon, just as a short preview of the State of the Union for tonight. So we're going to have one today, and then we're going to have one on Thursday in the post State of the Union speech as well. So we're doing two this week, and we're excited about them. And we appreciate you telling people about it.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And what I'll do is I'll take today's and I'll play that on our network a little later on today. I'll get that up because but I tell you what, all you have to do is Google Deep in the Swamp. You can get us on Google Play, iTunes, wherever you want. Just Google it. It comes right up. Click on it, and it'll be out this afternoon. And then their post-analysis of the speech will be out on Thursday. But, think about this. I mean, you get a podcast of two guys. One guy ran the Trump nomination campaign for 18 months, got him the nomination. The other guy essentially, nuts and bolts, ran the daily operation as deputy campaign manager of the campaign through the general, beat Clinton. You got these two guys every week talking about what is going on in the swamp in D.C. You can't find two better guys for this. It is absolutely a fascinating podcast, and it's going to give you insight you just can't get anywhere else in America. So you got to get that Deep in the Swamp. Dave Bossie and Corey Lewandowski. Dave, always appreciate you coming on. I've only got about a half a minute, so in 30 seconds, the major theme for President Trump you look for tonight, Dave.
Well, I think it's the optimism and the vision that he has for America, number one. And number two is I think he's going to talk to the American people about where America was 2 years ago and where we are today from a national security standpoint, from an economic standpoint. And just one great example is, our NATO allies. He stood tall and said, they need to pay their own way. And now we have $100 billion in NATO that we didn't have before he did that. And so tough talk to your friends doesn't mean they're not your friends. It just means they need to not use the American taxpayers, their piggy bank. So I think he's going to talk a lot about those types of things and the successes he's had, the bad trade deals that he's renegotiating. It's going to be a wide-ranging, really great speech. And I think the people in the gallery, the stories that he's going to tell, emphasized by these people in the gallery, are going to be tremendous. And I commend people to tonight's speech.
This afternoon, don't miss it. Dave Bossie, Corey Lewandowski, podcast Deep in the Swamp. Dave Bossie, thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much.